Welcome to Behind the Music Biz podcast, a Raise Rowdy podcast. I'm your host, Peyton Heben. I'm here with the merch manager from Muscadine Bloodline for episode 23. Please welcome Brad Curry.
What's up? How's it going? Thanks for having me in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is my first episode back. I've been on like a little hiatus since May.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is like my first podcast like in a studio. Like, I don't know if I've ever even talked into a microphone, like unless I'm not just like jacking around like at sound check or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is like the first time for any.
Are you nervous?
A little bit, but I mean, how hard could it be, right? We're talking about music.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Is it?
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
All right, we'll see. We'll find out.
So yeah, I guess to give you a rundown, because I really didn't give you a rundown of the podcast, but it's just like, just kind of tell your story, and the listeners or people that are interested in getting into the music business or just trying to navigate Nashville,
Cool.
And just hearing different perspectives of how people made it. So obviously you're now the merchandise manager for Muscadine, and they're popping off. They're on the road, so
Yep.
You're a road dog. I mean,
Road dog.
I'll give you the floor to tell your story.
So, I grew up in near Dayton, Ohio. If you know where that's at, there's not a whole lot going on there. And growing up, I was just completely into sports. Like, that's all we really cared about in my household was like sports and getting a good education, all that kind of stuff. But one thing we also did was like my parents like love music, and like they don't have any music ability or anything like that. But like I remember from a very early age, going down the road listening to like all kinds of different music, and it wasn't, we'd listen to stuff like that was on the radio and that sort of thing. But my dad also found, like Shooter Jennings and like people that, weren't like really mainstream back in the day. So I've always kind of had like a infatuation with the guys that were like, I don't know, doing it kind of like their own way, so to speak. So there's that part of me, but like I say, being into sports and stuff, that's like all I wanted to do growing up was play professional baseball or some degree of that. And I ended up going to college and playing for a couple years, but I found out super quick, like as soon as I got to school, I need to figure out like what I'm going to do after this is over, because I went into school thinking, well, surely I can get bigger and stronger and throw the ball harder and all this stuff, and then I get there and I'm like, oh no, like all these guys are like way better than me. I'm not going to make it. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And I actually started in the music business with Raise Rowdy with Nick, and that came about because they had posted. It was like when the questions, like when what do you call that?
Like on Instagram stories?
Yeah, like on Instagram stories. It was like, ask a question here. And so I just messaged them and said, how do I get involved with this? And they were like, hey, man, like, whenever you want to write a story, like, just send it to us and, like, we'll post it or whatever. And so I started writing for them, and I got so into it. People were like, man, like, you'd be good at this. Like, you need to move to Nashville. And so I gave up baseball and everything I had known prior to music and made the move down here with my twin brother, and went to Belmont for a year. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I got here, but I just knew that like being here would take me further than
open some doors.
Yeah, for sure. And so I went to Belmont. Like that's what everybody says. Like, oh, if you want to get a music business degree, like go to Belmont. And so I was like, oh, I'm sure that they have to be doing something right over there. And so I got in and transferred there, and that was in 2019. And so I went to school there for a year, and then COVID happened. And after that kind of like died down a little bit, I was like, like I do not need to go back to school to do all this stuff. Like I had been networking, at places like Live Oak, the local, all those spots, and I was like, I don't need to go back to school. And so I dropped out of school, and I was like, I have to figure this out on my own. And like I said, I really didn't have a plan either. It was just I wanted to do whatever I could to get into the music business. And then come to, me and Burrill and like Mitch Wallace, we were all kind of the same circle of friends. And when Trey Lewis, when DDID came out, and Burrill left to be on his team, Muscadine needed a merch guy. And Burrill was like, I know you're like super passionate about this kind of stuff, and they need somebody to sell for them. Like, are you interested? And at the time, I was selling cowboy boots, and at Boot Barn, and I pretty much quit my job on the spot, and left and became their merch guy. So here we are.
Yeah, I remember when I hit you up back in like, what was that, 2022 maybe?
Yeah.
Because I had seen you wrote some articles for Raise Rowdy, and I was in college at Florida Gulf Coast, and I was like, oh man, I would love to like get involved however I can. I've been following Raise Rowdy for a while just by seeing their social media stuff. So I think I shot you like a DM on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, how do I get involved at Raise Rowdy? Like,
Man.
Yeah.
They're the greatest people, man. Like, I owe a lot to Nikki T and like just that group for kind of showing me the ropes of this business, because like, going into it as I guess I was 18 or 19, like I knew nothing about the music business other than like I liked music. Like that was literally it. So I owe a lot to them for sure.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like you said, the networking at Live Oak and the local, like we were there all the time. I was at every Raise Rowdy event.
Yep.
They were introducing me to so many people, and then also like doing the articles introduced me to like a lot of artists and their teams, and it was just kind of not easy, but like a good gateway to like meet a bunch of people without like, having to really do much,
Yeah, it was a good way to just like to get with like-minded people. You know what I mean? Like, going into when I first moved here, we went to Live Oak and the local, like I said, and that was before Nikki or anybody had even moved to town. But I was meeting other people, and like you all go there on a Tuesday night, and everybody kind of has the same goal. It's like they you want to make friends, you want to network and stuff, but you also, I guess you want to, make connections for the future as well. Right. So yeah.
So how's it been? Traveling and being on the road. Muscadine, I'd say there's like, they've kind of like made their living by just playing shows.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, there's never been like a huge record label. It's always just been being on the road and gaining fans that way.
Yeah, man. Like, it's cool to see the growth even just since I've been with them. When I started with them in 2021, we were still in a van, with a small trailer. We didn't really, we didn't have a whole lot, and now we're in a tour bus with a bigger trailer, and we tour pretty comfortably now. So just seeing that growth alone has been pretty unbelievable. So
yeah, and then I think when you started with them, it was just kind of like Porch Swing Angel was their like claim to fame at that point.
Yep. Yeah, they had put out their debut record, I think, in 2020, and it kind of sounded more towards like the Porch Swing Angel, CB radio style of music, and but then I guess the February of 2022 is when they put out Dispatch to 16th Avenue. I think is when that came out. And since then, it's just kind of we've kind of gone a different direction, and it's been for the better. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's very country now.
Yeah, it's
before
really
it
cool.
was country, but now it's like super country. And I love that all their records kind of tell a story, like in a
Well, that one I can't remember which one it was, but it all the songs played into like it was continuous, like it just never stopped. So it's cool for sure.
Yeah, they're good people. And I'm huge fans of what they're doing.
Yeah, man.
Especially like Post Me on You.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just kind of my style of music of what I like.
Yeah.
They're killing it right now.
Well, and the cool thing about them too is they're great musicians, they're great artists. Like everybody in the band is awesome, but they're even better people. So it makes it super easy to root for them. Like what you see on social media from them is really what you get. Like they are like the most down to earth dudes I've ever met in this business. So
yeah,
they're great.
So obviously, when you came in town, you were running around with Burrill and the Rowdy crew. Yeah. You obviously hadn't had much like experience in merch at all.
Yep.
So what was the process like learning that, and then especially like taking that on the road and being thrown in the fire every night?
Yeah, man. Like we. So first off, I have to tell you the story about how I met Burrill. So I used to see Burrill out at the local, I guess it was about 2019, 2020, and I always knew like he was Muscadine's merch guy. And so I was like, dude, like that's Muscadine Bloodline's merch guy. I was nervous to talk to him. I didn't want anything from him. I literally just wanted to be friends with him because he was a Yankees fan like myself. I was like, man, I gotta find another Yankees fan here in town. But I was always so nervous to talk to him. So now looking back, it's like, man, I was nervous to talk to Matt Burrill. Like, so it was pretty funny. But he helped out in the beginning, kind of showing me like, showing me the ropes as far as like using at Venue, which is like the inventory software we use, and using the Square Reader and all that kind of stuff. And there's not a whole lot that goes into selling T-shirts. Like anybody could do it, but it's just having the personality to talk to anybody. Like that goes a long way. I've always kind of had that knack for doing that. So the transition was pretty easy, to be honest with you. So
yeah, but then I mean also like inventory every night.
Yeah,
like when you guys played at the ranch, I watched you after when you were like cleaning up and everything, and the computer, like taking inventory and all that stuff. Like it takes a lot of organization. And I've also seen the Raised Rowdy house that you run out of with all the merch. I mean, it's like a factory in there.
Well, it may, when you walk in there, it may not always look like it's organized, but I'm telling you, it's organized.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it that people, really don't see. I mean, they think, people come up to the merch table and they're like, oh, like you must be like the intern or like somebody's little brother or something. And it's like that's not true at all. There's, when we buy, 600 T-shirts at a time, it's like you have to be able to count all those and all that kind of stuff, because it'll mess up your numbers if you don't. And if it messes up your numbers, then then the business manager gets on you, and it's just not good. So having an organizational skill like that is crucial when running merch. So
yeah, I mean, for a lot of bands, it's let's pick up a guy or girl and just have them sell merch for the weekend. They don't have like a set merchandise person.
Yep.
I'm sure obviously the bigger that you get, the easier it is to have someone on payroll to do that.
Yep.
But for a lot of smaller artists, it's just have someone learn how to use the Square Reader and sell the T-shirts. But you're you're the Michael Jordan of merch sellers.
That's what they say, I guess.
But I mean, you do more than obviously that with the inventory, and you're doing the online sales too.
Yep.
And then do you have a say in the merch designs too?
Yeah. So Gary and Charlie are super hands-on with what merch they would like to see, and luckily for us, like we're all kind of on the same page as far as like what we like in style, and we all kind of know what the trends are, and so it makes it super easy to text them in a group chat and say, hey, what do you guys think about this design? And more often than not, they're down for it. But yeah, I handle all the merch designs. We've got a company in Alabama that does all of our artwork and stuff and all of our printing. But I handle all that, and then I handle their web store, so I pack and ship everything. And I think by this point, the post office hates me because I'm dropping off so many packages, every other day. So, but yeah, I mean, I handle all of it.
People don't understand how hard that is.
It's crazy, man.
I mean, I've seen people do it. I saw one of my coworkers yesterday doing it, and it's a pain. Just watching him, I was like, I don't ever want to do this. Like, I would rather do the print to order.
Yep. Well, I remember when gosh, what record did they put out last with Me on You on it? What was that called?
Teenage Dixie?
Teenage Dixie, yes. So they put out Teenage Dixie. It was released the same weekend that I was getting married. And I had when the week you get married, it's always pretty hectic. You got people coming into town, everything's kind of in the final stages before the actual ceremony takes place. But the record also came out during that time. And so we had pre-sold 650 vinyl, and I had to pack all those the same week as my wedding. So I was working 15-hour days, trying to get that all done. It was crazy, but it was super fun. It was worth it.
Yeah, well, congrats on getting married.
Thanks, man.
And you also just moved to Southern Kentucky, right?
Yeah. So we just closed on a house. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now. So
how far of a drive is that from Nashville?
I think it's 70 miles. So that
not bad.
It's not bad, but you got to take into consideration the traffic on any given day.
Yeah. So, and you're originally from Kentucky?
So I was born in Evansville, Indiana, but I lived in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is Western Kentucky. And then we moved to Ohio when I was a kid. Okay. So I claim Ohio just because that's where I grew up, but
Because you're a UK fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're all over the place, dude.
Dude, my dad. Okay, I always explain to people, they're like, man, like you got to be the biggest bandwagon fan ever. Like you like Kentucky, you like the Yankees, like. But my dad grew up in the '70s, and for whatever reason, likes the Yankees. And in Kentucky, like you don't have a choice. Like you're just a Kentucky fan. Like you don't have a choice. But the Yankees was always kind of like a weird thing for everybody. But like I didn't have a choice growing up. Like I had to be a Kentucky basketball, Kentucky football, anything Kentucky related. Like I was a fan.
You don't want to be dating Flyers.
No way. Nope. and then yeah, I'm a Yankees fan too. So it's absolutely crazy like how bad my fandom is.
And what's your football team?
I guess I really didn't have like an NFL team, but I guess the Titans now. Yeah, we've got
fair.
Will Levis, Kentucky boy being the quarterback.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
So by proxy, I guess I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah. But I mean, being on the road, what were some of the challenges that you faced that I guess you weren't prepared to face? Like something that was just thrown at you and you were like, "Oh man, I got to figure this out quick."
Man. Honestly, like the only like big challenge that at least what I have on the road is like sacrificing my time away from my wife and stuff like that. Like I always grew up traveling, playing baseball and stuff, but we were always, it was just kind of like for a weekend or whatever. Like we weren't out for 9 or 10 days sometimes. And like that sounds, this sounds crazy, because most people would love to have this job. And like, it's of course my dream job, but there comes a time where like sacrificing your time away from your wife and your family and stuff, it really does. It sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
And so just having to balance that has been really the only big challenge I've had, because like I'm such a homebody at this point. Like I love being at home. And so, yeah.
Especially when you just buy a house.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I just want to be home. And the other thing is like, right across the street from my new house is a golf course. Like I literally like on my front porch I can look over a golf course, and so like just being like seeing that and being like, man, I want to be out there like doing that, So
I just moved into this new apartment down near the Gulch.
Okay.
And it has a golf simulator.
Oh man.
And
I played golf. I started playing golf in 2020, like kind of during COVID. There was some metro courses here in town that were closed, obviously, but they let anybody just walk for free. And so I started playing during COVID, and I started playing. I played through 2022, and then I kind of, like last year, I kind of just took off for whatever reason. I just didn't play. And I really didn't get back into it until Tyler, our tour manager, he just got married recently too, but we went on his bachelor trip to North Carolina, and like the second round we played, I hit a hole-in-one. And it's on video, like I have the whole thing. And like ever since then, I'm like, I have to play every single day. I have to hit another hole-in-one. Because like that feeling was just exhilarating.
Oh, dude, I can imagine.
Dude, I mean,
there's like, I don't know anyone that's ever done that.
Yeah.
Even like, I mean, I know there's been a few people here and there, like in the pros, like in the PGA Tour and stuff. I mean, you rarely see it. When you do, it's a huge deal. And
then getting it on film is like, it's crazy.
Did you post it on TikTok?
Oh yeah. It didn't blow up like I thought it was going to, but it was cool. But it was on an Arnold Palmer design course, like his signature hole over water. It was so cool, man. So
that's sweet.
I'm back into it now. I'm sick for it again.
Well, I'm so terrible. Like my swing is broke. Like it's bad.
Well, I've had to deal with being a baseball player. Like I have that natural baseball swing, and so trying to fix that has been my main thing this year.
I just haven't gotten the bug yet. I mean, we've been in the simulator thing the past 3 nights.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's not. I'm not a huge golf guy.
Yeah.
Like it's just not my thing. I don't know why.
I think for me, baseball is a game of failure, and golf is like, to me, it's also a game of failure. So like that, that one time you strike it good and it, dot one on the green, like that feels, it's enough to bring you back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like baseball. Like, you fail, what do they say? Like 7 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. It's like, it's the same thing for golf, man.
Do you ever go golfing when you're on the road?
We haven't like this year really, but I mean, some of the guys do, but with my day-to-day schedule, it's kind of hard for me to allot time to do that. I'll kind of give you a rundown of like what my schedule looks like. So we usually load in at like 10 or 11 o'clock every morning. And that takes me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then by then it's about lunchtime. And then I have a few hours to do some stuff. I'm usually sending emails or just kind of hanging out, or sometimes even taking a nap, just because, on the road you never really get a full 8 hours of sleep. So anytime you can get sleep is key. But then our VIP experience usually starts around 5:30, and so that takes an hour and a half of my time. And then our doors are usually at 7 o'clock, and that's when people start buying. So I'm pretty much, in a roundabout way, I'm kind of working all day long.
Yeah. Well, because then you like after you have to break down and then pack everything up, do the inventory. Because I mean, the night I was with you in Fort Myers, I mean that was like 12:30 in the morning, damn near.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, and then and then we don't sometimes we don't shower until, I don't know, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then you go to bed at 3, and then you wake up and do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
So it's not like you see in movies these freaking rock stars partying all night. It's not like that for us, really.
Yeah.
We kind of at this point everyone in the band's married, and we're not out running around all night at different bars, and we kind of just assume just get in, do our job, and go to bed.
And that's, I mean, I had Bo, he's the tour manager for Corey Kent.
Yep.
And he was telling me about how he was home like 10 days or something like that. Like he's never home.
Yeah.
But like their camp is very much like that.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, I guess like grown, has families, and like is doing their own thing, where it's like when they're on the road, like that's it.
Yeah. Well, we
like
just
it's very tight knit.
We just like to, we're kind of all out there, with one goal in mind. You'll never really hear me say like, oh, I work for Gary and Charlie, like, or I just assume I work with them, you know. So it's like one cohesive unit, which is cool. But when we go out on the road, it's more like, we're out here for a job. We're not out here to screw around and party. So it makes it super nice, because there's been sometimes like in my younger days where, I've gone out on the road with just some friends or something for the weekend, and like you stay out and party all night because that's what you think you have to do, and you wake up the next day and you just feel like crap, and then you have to work feeling like crap, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So
and it can wear on you easily.
Yeah.
I mean, even just like not being on the road, like just being in Nashville. A lot of people come here. I heard stories last night from people that ended up moving home. I mean, they moved here like 7 years ago.
Yep.
It took them a couple years to move home, and I mean. People come here and they just like start doing that, like the networking, and they start drinking when they're out.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like a slow decline.
Oh, you can get sucked into it really fast.
And like it ruins your experience of Nashville because you wake up feeling terrible, or like you just start to develop this problem.
Yep.
And it's just a slippery slope.
It's sad, man, because like I've got friends that are like that, and like I hate it for them, Yeah. But.
And that's why just the road. I mean, I always ask that question anytime I have like a tour manager, production manager. Like, how do you balance like your mental health on the road? Because it's easy to fall into that hole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say like a lot of people, from the outside looking in, like even myself getting into this, like I didn't know, it's obviously like this job is not nearly as hard as like what my dad does for a living or like what my father-in-law does for a living. But it has its own challenges that, not everybody realizes, and so it's something different for sure.
What's your go-to like thing for when you're trying to sell merch? Like Burrell always would say he's like there's something like a go-to line or something that he would reel people in with.
I honestly I don't have one. Like luckily for me, I don't have to work too hard to sell the stuff because like I think the music sells the merch itself, And one thing we've really like wanted to hammer home is we want to have merch for somebody that may not even like, for example, like we're playing festivals and stuff this summer, and not everybody there is going to know who we are. But we want to have merch for somebody that doesn't know who we are, but it's the design and the shirt is so cool that they buy it anyways.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, like they're gonna see that shirt and buy it, and then they're gonna listen to us, and they're gonna become a fan. So just having cool merch and having good music, like that's all you need. Like I don't need like a catch line, like maybe like what Burrell had a few years ago, because when Burrell was working for him, the crowds weren't obviously nearly as big, and so you kind of had to sell them, But yeah, that's been our big thing, is just having really badass merch, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like to talk more about like how they are doing it without a label. Do they still are they with a label?
No, they've never been with one.
Yeah,
no.
I knew they were independent for a long time, but I didn't know if that changed recently.
Nope.
But like not being on the radio and like not being on like Sirius XM, the highway, or anything like that.
Yep.
Like it would be hard to guess like what their shows would look like.
Yeah.
Because like nowadays, if you're not on the radio, like people don't necessarily know. Like I guess playlist thing has a lot to do with it.
For sure.
But like their shows are packed every night. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, luckily, with the kind of with how everything is these days, we don't necessarily have to be on the radio to have big shows and that sort of thing. Obviously, that would certainly help, but playlisting, I think, has been our biggest help, and just social media in general has been a huge help to us. So,
Which is loyal fans.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they just have built loyal fans from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean we've had
years.
We've had a Facebook group called the Vines for years, and some of like the most diehard Muscadine Bloodline fans are in there. I would say 99% of them are in there, and they've been there for I don't know since before I worked for them. So, yeah, they've got some mega fans.
So you obviously you like I don't think you plan on coming off the road anytime soon. But down the road, how old are you?
25.
Okay, so still super young.
Oh yeah.
But like down the road, you're gonna have kids and all that stuff, and you're probably gonna want to come off the road. I've had people on this podcast that did the road thing for a long time, and then just were like, okay, I'm gonna go do something else that has me stay in Nashville or wherever.
Yeah.
So what would that one thing be? Like right now, if you had to come off the road, what's something that you're passionate about that you would want to do, music business or not?
Man, I don't know. I've honestly I've never even thought about what I'm gonna do after this job. Like when I moved here, I came into town like just thinking like I have to do this. I don't care what I do, but I'm gonna do something in this business. And I didn't really have a backup plan. And I've always I would say like one piece of advice, and like this probably isn't the best piece of advice, but that's just how I approached moving to town. Is like I moved here with no plan B.
Yeah.
Like I kind of just flew by the seat of my pants because, if you have a plan B, I've always felt like that gives you a way out if it doesn't work out immediately.
You're okay with failure.
Yeah, and so I've literally never thought about it. Like I've always just said, as long as Gary and Charlie are touring, like I'm gonna be their merch guy, or until they fire me, I'm gonna be their merch guy. So I literally couldn't even tell you an answer because I don't know. I'm just kind of going day to day, and luckily, we're not hurting for business, so
yeah, true.
So I'm not really looking for another job, anyways. But
are there any other aspects of the business that interest you? Because I mean, you've had experience being around like a super successful group, and just like, I mean, they've killed it on the road, they've killed it on streaming. Like you've been around the industry and meeting a lot of different people. Are there any other aspects? Maybe even tour management? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of thought about it, if I would be a good tour manager or not, but I've always just told people this job, I think, is the easiest yet hardest job in the business because, there is a lot that goes into as far as like organization skills and being, having a personality to talk to somebody to sell them merch or whatever. But it's at the end of the day, you're just the merch guy. It's not the sexy gig that, people move to town for necessarily. So, if someone from the venue has a question or something and they come up and ask me, more often than not, like, I don't know the answer. I just say, I don't know, man, I'm the merch guy, like, our tour manager's over there. And they're like, fair enough. And they just leave me alone, man. It's the easiest job. But I guess if I had to say, like, being a tour manager, I guess would be fun. I think I would be, just from, an organizational standpoint, I think I would be halfway decent at it. But our current tour manager, Tyler, does a great job. So, I don't think I'm going to be a tour manager anytime soon. Nor do I really want to be. I think I like being the merch guy. So...
No, yeah, I mean it's a sweet gig, and how you're doing it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean you see a lot of these big time merch businesses here in town, like Future Shirts, and I can name quite a few others, but they have a plethora of artists on there, that they represent and pack and ship their orders and stuff, and the guys have always just been so hands-on with how they operate their business that we just decided to bring it all in-house. And I don't know of too many other bands that are doing it themselves. I mean, we've got some buddies, American Aquarium, that they pack and ship all their merch and run their web store and stuff, but for the most part, I don't think there's too many other bands doing it like us.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
At all.
It's crazy.
Because I know a lot of people prefer to like do the print to order for like, especially for online stores where it's like, I have the inventory for when I take it on the road for shows.
Yep.
But like if someone's ordering online, I don't want to have to like package it and then print the label and then send it out. And it's a pain, especially when you get like such high volume of orders.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the post office probably hates you.
It is like such a pain for most people because, I would venture to say that a lot of people just don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, like I said, it's not the sexy gig and it's very tedious work. But we've found that, by doing it ourselves, I think we can kind of, I don't even know the right word. We can sell more just because we care more. We can post a sale whenever we want. We can put out t-shirts whenever we want to. We can put out a hat whenever we want to. And I don't think, and there's nothing against Future Shirts or whoever. Like there's obviously a need for them, and like they are great. They're the greatest people. I mean, they're so nice. We still, they still print some stuff for us. But it's just, having such a hands-on approach for us, it's been huge. And our numbers have shown that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to keep doing it this way, I guess.
So, I mean, we talked about networking earlier. I know that's a huge part of getting any opportunity, no matter what you want to do in Nashville and in the music business.
Yep.
But I think selling merch and it's a good way, whether that's what you want to do forever or you want to transition to tour management. Like Brill was with Muscadine selling merch, transitioned to tour management with Trey, but had already had that road experience. It wasn't just like completely figuring it out by just being thrown into the fire.
Yep.
So what's your advice to someone in the business that's trying to get on the road, whether it's to sell merch or tour management? Like how would they go about that?
Honestly, I think like merch is a good starting point for a lot of people because it is like pretty easy to do. But there's a lot of newer artists that need help selling t-shirts, when they're out. They don't want to be the one standing behind the table after their set. So having somebody that is willing to take $50 or $100 a show to sell their merch, that goes a long way for a newer artist. And, when we were starting out, a lot of the times, I was still pushing cases after the show, and I was still, I learned a lot about, actual like music equipment that I didn't know otherwise. And so you learn pretty quick on how a show is ran. Even though you're not on stage, you're not off to the side, not in front of house. I've still learned quite a bit about the music portion of the show itself. So I think being the merch guy is the best starting point you can have.
Yeah, like I had said for the Brill thing, like just being on the road, like just doing it. Like especially when you're young, like people will ask you, like I've been asked so many times to go on the road to sell merch, but to be honest, like I just can't.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm not supposed to say no to opportunities, but it's like it's not me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not made for the road.
Yeah.
Like I love being home. I love to travel, but on my own terms.
Yes.
I don't want to be like in a van and honestly even on a bus.
Yeah, man.
Like as nice as they are, like I don't want to be sleeping on a bus and wake up in a new city every day.
Oh,
it takes a special person.
I understand where you're coming from on that. There is times where I'm just like, man, I am ready to get the hell off this bus. But then I look back and I think about times that we were, 8 deep in a Sprinter van, pulling an all-nighter, drive back from Houston, Texas, and sleeping in the floorboards and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this isn't really that bad. Someone's gigging way harder than what I am right now.
Yeah.
So.
And it's good memories too.
Oh man, it's the best. Like I always tell people, there was something about the van that that was awesome. I'll never go back and ride in a Sprinter van, but having the camaraderie of like just roughing it with the boys for the weekend, like there's nothing like it. We had a really good time, and unfortunately I was only in a van for a year with them, so I got I guess I got my sea legs, but there's Zoltan, like our drummer Zoltan, he's been with them since the very beginning. I mean, when they were traveling around in a Chevy Avalanche with like everything in the back. So he's been road dogging it the longest, but yeah, man, the van was something else.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard so many stories. I mean, there are artists that prefer a van.
Yeah.
That could, at this point, have a bus that still use the van. It's cheaper.
I was going to say, it's certainly cheaper, I would imagine.
Yeah. But, I mean, people just prefer it. I mean, it's like...
It's crazy.
If I had to choose, I would probably do a bus.
Oh, me too, for sure.
But, I mean, like...
Having an Xbox, having two televisions, having an actual bed to sleep on.
But they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because they... I mean, even, like, when you guys were traveling in Florida, you broke down, I think.
Yeah,
right?
man. That bus we were in at that time, it was an older bus, and it had like I don't know how many 100,000 miles on it, but it broke down quite a bit that summer. But we haven't had any problems this year.
Yeah, definitely knock on wood.
Yeah, so
they're gonna hate you if they hear this. And
dude,
it breaks down.
They're gonna be like that. But we've been flying the past, I don't know, I'd say the past month or so. I feel like we've had so many fly dates, and that like it's obviously like way quicker to get out west. Like we've been playing a lot of shows out in California and stuff, so it's way quicker to get out there by plane.
Yeah.
But like those days, I just assume just ride the bus. Like flying, I hate flying now, and I used to love flying, but it's just so waiting around and all that kind of stuff.
It was a lot more fun when you were a kid, and you didn't really know the process of it.
Yeah.
Especially when you knew you were going on vacation or something. Like now, as an adult, I hate flying.
Well, kind of like what you said. Like I'd rather fly on my terms.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather pick somewhere to go, but.
And I mean, so much equipment. How do you guys travel like that? Dude, do you hear my stomach growling?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I hope they don't hear it in the
Time.
microphone. It is breakfast. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for anyone listening.
Yeah, we got up early for this.
Yeah. I was here at like 7 a.m.
But so a lot of the times we fly out there, out west, we're usually playing a festival where they backline all our gear, which means I think this means like we just use like the house, drum kit and that sort of thing. And then sometimes the bus will be out there and they'll just meet us out there, and then we'll have our gear on the bus. So we usually just fly. Some of the guys fly their guitars and that sort of thing. And then I just fly my clothes I'm going to wear for the week, and then. Usually I coordinate with the venues a week or a week and a half before on shipping all of our merch out there, so we don't have to fly with it. So that's a big help.
That's what I was going to ask, if you had to carry all that merch with you.
I mean, I've had to, and like we used to when we were still kind of in the Sprinter, we would fly. I think we did like 1 or 2 fly dates out to Montana, and we'd had Gary had a Cabela's like decoy bag, like you put ducks in, and we had just loaded that thing full of t-shirts and hats and koozies, and that's how we did it. But now we've gotten to the point where we have to ship 6 or 7 or 8 boxes out to a show.
When you're traveling with bus and trailer, do you carry a table and all those racks with you, or do you have to whatever the venue provides?
Yeah, I mean, more often than not the venue will have all that stuff, but we still carry it with us.
Gotcha.
So because you just there's that one-off chance where we show up to a field festival that doesn't have anything, so we have a tent, a table, and merch grids, and our square reader, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is, I mean, I obviously know your opinion, but like with the venues that take a percentage, are there venues that are still doing that?
I was wondering if we were going to go over this today, and I'm glad we are. Yes, there are, and it's crazy. It's like absolutely ridiculous.
It is insane.
I will say though, like Live Nation, they used to be like the poster child for taking a merch cut,
and what was it, 20% or something?
It was, I think it varied venue to venue, but it was certainly like more than I wanted to give them at the end of the night. But they've kind of the tides have turned, and now they're giving us money at the end of the night for like it's like some Willie Nelson thing that he like.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so now like they're giving us money. and giving us like we got like these laundry bags and like all kinds of stuff, and they don't take a merch cut anymore. But there's still a lot of music venues that do take a merch cut, and it's ridiculous.
That is.
I think
insane.
their reasoning for it is, and I've heard this in the past, is like we're giving you the space to sell it, you know. And so my rebuttal to that always is, well, we're bringing all these fans in here to sell your alcohol, so why don't we get a cut of your alcohol sales?
Yeah.
And they never have an answer. And I just don't know. I'm sure it's happened in the past, but I don't know why it's taken this long for the music business to you know, ask why this practice has been used for so long.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Everyone's just kind of been like, that's fair, you know.
And maybe I'd get it too if it was like, if you were doing like a door deal or something.
Yeah.
If ours was doing a door deal where it's like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. If
the way payments are happening are percentage based, but it's like there's no point, and especially if the venue's paying you a flat rate to come in and play, it's like
there's literally like no rational way to make it make sense.
Yeah, it's
and
odd.
The thing that like just really gets me is when some venues, like, they don't care if you sold $50. If you sold 2 T-shirts and like you're the opening band, like they'll take a merch cut. And it's like, while that may not affect us now as much, which it does over the course of a year, but like that opening band, like that might have been their gas money to get to the next gig, and like they're just straight up taking their money, and they don't feel bad about it. And I've just never understood that. And so now, like, there's been this big wave of artists like BJ Baum from American Aquarium. Like, he just straight up is like, he's very outspoken about it. And I think it's really gone a long way in helping bands like us out, you know, because a lot of people aren't taking merch cuts anymore.
In a lot of contracts, like show contracts, it says merchandise artist takes 100% of merchandise sales. Yeah. Which is, I'm all for that.
Yeah, me too.
Because if it wasn't in the contract, and these, like, I mean, are the venues, like, pushing back? Like, I don't understand. Like, I still don't understand, like, the whole process of it. Like, what started it, and then what's making them change it. And then, like, these booking agents that are adding it into the contract, if the venues will push back and be like, no, we take 20%.
Yeah. I mean, the unfortunate part about it is a lot of venues, like, let's just use these Live Nation venues, for example. Prior to last year, when they were still taking merch cuts, you know, we would go and play these places, and then they would take 20% of our soft merch sales, and like we would have to just be like, all right, here you go, and it sucks, but they have the best venues. I mean, you go play House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's like, that is a dope ass venue, and it's like, so you want to play the cool spots, but like you don't necessarily always want to play the spot that takes, you know, 20% of your merch every night. So I don't know where it ends. I don't know the solution to it, but I think we're on the right track because, you know, a company like Live Nation being the catalyst for live touring, like by them saying, okay, like we're not going to take a merch cut anymore, I think it goes a long way and shows these other places like, hey, like we're not going to continue to do this. Yeah. So you shouldn't either. So,
and then also, like with opening acts, I mean, I don't know if this is like a venue thing or like team by team. Yeah. But I know openers are allowed to sell like one shirt, one hat, depending. Do you know the reasoning for that?
I think, first off, for us, like when we have an opener, they can sell. If they have 45 T-shirts, I'll let them sell. Like, I don't care, because we just know how far, you know, what our merch sales, like what that pays for us. Like, I want to be able to help out the other band as much 100%. As possible,
especially on an opener budget.
Yeah, for sure. But there are some places, like, for example, this weekend we're at a festival. I can't remember who we're playing with, but we're not the headliner, and we were limited in Montana to one shirt and one hat. And I think it's just because, like, in a festival setup, there's so many different T-shirts and so many different things going on. Like they want to limit it to make it as smooth as possible. You know, if someone rolls up with 14 T-shirts and some other band only has 3, you know, it looks kind of funny for sure. Like we, you know, I think Sunday we're playing with Carrie Underwood. It's like we would look so weird rolling up with, you know, 10 T-shirts and she only has 4. You know, it's like why would the supporting act have way more merch? So there's that portion to it, and then a lot of the bigger artists are they make you price match. So a lot of these artists are selling their shirts for $40 or $45, and they don't want you to undercut them and say, well, we're only selling our shirt for $35, and then they lose sales. So they want to be able to, you know, they want us to price match more often than not, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's just not really like if someone's opening for us, they can sell their stuff for whatever they want, and they can sell as much of it as they want. So yeah, it's different for everybody.
With festivals, do they take a percentage?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I figured because they have those, like they hire the merch sellers too.
Yeah. Some festivals like this weekend, I literally just have to drop my merch off and I'm done for the whole day until it's time to pack up.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess it makes it a little bit more reasonable for them to take a merch cut.
Yeah,
but
if they're paying out the people selling.
Correct. I would still much rather just sell it on my own. But yeah, most festivals, just to streamline everything, will just hire an outside vendor to come in and sell everything. So I don't know why.
I was gonna ask that about like a venue like Bridgestone too.
Yeah.
When you have like if you go to a show at Bridgestone, there's like 8 different merch tables at different points within the arena.
Yep.
And they're all like Bridgestone like event employees.
Yep.
Jeez, bro.
Should got a Slim Jim or something.
But yeah, so you would just be done. You would like get the merch up and then call it a day.
Yeah.
What would you do? Just watch show from side stage?
Yeah, like this weekend, our guitar tech I think he's in a wedding, so he's not going to be at the shows this weekend. And I personally, I don't know anything about guitars. I'm not doing
change strings, dude.
Nope, I don't know how to do that. But I think I am like taping the set list down and you know, pushing all the cases off the stage after their set's over and stuff. But most of the time, I'll just hang out and watch the show, or more often than not on the weekends. You know, we're watching. In the fall, we're watching college football. We're watching, you know, watching the golf tournament, playing golf on the Xbox and all that sort of stuff. So I usually just hang out, but it makes for a long weekend when you don't do anything.
Do you guys, if you're touring in the fall, do you have any plans of catching any games while you're in like a city that, like in an SEC town or something?
Man, I don't think we have any plans to go to any football games, but I think we are going to a Orioles Red Sox game in August.
Oh, nice.
We're going to be in Baltimore, and it's like I think they have a day game, so we're all going to go out to that. But we haven't done a whole lot of that kind of stuff recently, just because of the VIP.
True.
The VIP thing. But before, like when we were still in a Sprinter, it seemed like when we were in a Sprinter, we did more of that kind of stuff because we weren't doing VIP at the time, so it was kind of nice. I mean, we had gone out to a couple golf tournaments and or a golf tournament. We gone out to a couple baseball games, I think. But like I said, like when we're out, man, like we kind of just treat it as a job and don't go sightseeing a whole lot, which is kind of sad because we go to a lot of cool cities and people think like, man, like it must be so cool to go to Los Angeles or something, and it is, but like I don't see anything when I'm there, you know, outside of the venue and the bus. So,
because that's what I would want to do. I'd want to like go but I mean, like then you think about how little of time you have there.
Yeah.
Like, you play in LA.
Yep.
And you're there to load in, sound check, VIP, play, and then drive through the night to San Diego and wake up and
do it all over again.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's like going to a place, like I'll give you an example. Last year we were in Seattle and we had enough time where we could go to like the fish market there in Seattle and stuff, but like it wasn't enough time to like go see everything. And so you spend enough time at somewhere just to be able to say like, man, like that place looks like a cool spot I want to go back to in my free time. But that's it. Like outside of that, we can't see a whole lot.
Yeah, is there anywhere that you guys have gone where you haven't had time to do that, but you ended up going back because you're like, this is somewhere I want to explore?
The only thing I can think of is like I go to New York quite a bit for games, and we had played New York last fall, and we had been to a part of the city I'd never been, and so that was really like the only thing I could think of is like going back to that part of the town or back to the city to just try the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've kind of got like a list in my head of places I'd like to go back and take my wife to because I think she would like it. But we haven't done any of that yet. Like I said, when I'm at home, dude, I just want to be home. I
Yeah,
don't want
I
to travel.
feel that.
So,
One of my artists that I work with, he played at the Grizzly Rose with Trey Lewis.
oh, cool.
And I mean, I flew up. I think it was like a Saturday show. I flew up like Friday afternoon. Was there Saturday, and I think left on Sunday or something like that.
Yeah.
But we had enough time to like go to the Rocky Mountain National Park for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
But it was like we didn't really get to hike or like see anything.
Yeah.
So that was like I'm guaranteed to go back to Denver soon.
Yeah.
Or just like to Colorado because I just want to see more of like that area, the mountains.
Yep.
But I mean, there's been a ton of places like that. Like I'm gonna go to Texas in July, or in August.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm not gonna have time to see any of the things I want to see or go to anywhere I want to go.
Yeah. It's like today. Like tonight, we're flying out to Montana, and we're going to Whitefish, Montana, which under the Big Sky Festival or whatever. I think that's what it's called. And it looks freaking awesome. But we're not going to be there long enough for me to do anything.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not selling anything, so I kind of thought, man, I'll bring my golf clubs out there and I'll just play golf during the day at some really cool golf course. But just I've done things like that before, and as soon as I get out there, Tyler, our tour manager, will text me and be like, hey, the venue needs you for something, and I have to come right back. And so.
What's that festival? It might be like Faster Horses. I don't know, but where they're hitting the golf balls, you can hit the golf balls off that like.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like cliff.
It's not somewhere we've played before. I'll tell you that. Watershed.
Watershed.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep. I'd like to get out there too. Yeah, man, the festival thing is awesome. Logistically, it's kind of a nightmare just because there's so much going on.
Yeah, right.
So many different bands and stuff. But being able to see all those different all those different artists that you wouldn't see otherwise is pretty fun. And then, we've got a lot of friends that are usually on the same bill as us, so they'll come on the bus and hang out and do that sort of thing. But yeah, festivals have been fun this year.
Do you pay attention to a lot of the up and coming artists?
Honestly, not as much as I used to. Like when I was with Rowdy doing that sort of thing.
Articles and whatnot.
Yeah, like I tell people when I'm at home, just being around music for a job, like it's kind of not ruined, but it's changed my experience,
100%.
My musical experience, because I used to seek out new music. I used to listen to a whole record, and now I'm like, man, I'd rather just sit in silence or listen to sports talk radio, listen to a podcast or something, like anything like but music. So like unless like one of my buddies is releasing music or unless I hear a really good record, like honestly I'm not listening to a whole lot.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. I do not listen when I'm working out, when I'm driving in the car. Like I'm usually in silence or listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I can't do music, and I love music. I love country music.
Yep.
But it's like when it's my everyday life.
Yeah.
Like 9 to 5 and beyond.
Yeah.
So it's like
And I tell people too, like my favorite band is Muscadine Bloodline, and like I'm not listening, but I'm not gonna listen to them in my free time.
Yeah.
Because one, it's weird because they're my friends, but two, it's like I hear them, for 90 minutes every Saturday or Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to listen to them any more than that.
Do you do Thursday shows ever?
We used to, and every once in a while we will, but we've kind of, luckily for me, there's not too many shows where we're out for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And so, and because the boys don't want to, like they're like, man, like we just enjoy our time at home. They've made it a priority to spend time with their wives and, allow us to have some time off. And so we kind of just do like the weekend warrior type thing now where we're Friday and Saturday. But that's like next week we play
Leave
Thursday.
on Thursday?
Yeah. But next week we leave on Wednesday and we play Thursday and Friday and then we're off Saturday. So
yeah,
it'd be kind of nice. But
where are you going to be at there?
I can't remember where we're at the first show, but the next Friday we're at the Cotillion in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty cool room.
There's not much to do out there probably.
No, and it's always like 95 degrees.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I counted up yesterday. We've only got 31 or 32 shows left in the whole year. So it's made for a quick year, it seems like. Everything's super backloaded. We really didn't tour that much in the spring or early summer. But we just announced that thing with Whiskey Jam, or the Red Bull thing.
Yeah.
That was kind of sprung on all of us.
At a Sunday amphitheater, right?
Yeah. So that's going to be pretty cool. I don't know. I really don't know the details on it, but it's always nice to play a show where you can sleep in your own bed.
Yeah, true.
That's a huge thing. So we don't get too many Nashville shows either. We played the Ryman, back in the springtime, and then we'll have
That's
this
sold
one.
out too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was it 2 nights?
Just
or one night.
Yeah. I hope we get to play there again soon.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of your craziest road memories? Everyone has to have like one.
Man, like I said, like we don't party a whole lot, but I'll tell you,
Or just like a fan or something. It doesn't have to be like party related, but just like something crazy that happened.
One thing I can say was like the craziest thing ever is we've got we played a show in Atlanta in 2022, and Charlie is friends with a guy. I can't remember what his exact title was with the Braves, but he used to be the clubhouse manager, or he used to be the grounds crew, like the head of the grounds crew. Now he's the clubhouse manager or something. But he is now that guy is now married to the daughter of maybe the president of the Braves or something. And I'm not a Braves fan at all, obviously. But after the show was over, they'd all come out, and after the show was over, the lights were still on at Truist, and they had played a game that night, and they were all still there hanging out. And they had a bunker style, like bar area, probably about twice the size of the room we're in now. And it just had like any of the alcohol you could think of. It had all these televisions and everything, and you had to walk on the field to get to this place. And so after the show, they're like, "Come on, we're going to Truist. Like, we're gonna go hang out." And I'm like, "Okay, like, that's pretty cool." And so we get there, and we're walking through like the bowels of Truist Park, and all of a sudden he opens up like the center field wall, and like there's the field, like right there, the lights are on, like there's nobody, and I mean, you can hear a pin drop in there. It's crazy. I've never experienced anything like it. But we went down there and just hung out for like hours and just partied and had a few drinks, and it was
That's awesome.
one of the it was something I would never be able to do otherwise if I wasn't doing this for a job. But this job has allowed me so much of like those opportunities that, like I said, I wouldn't have otherwise. I told somebody the other day, I feel like Forrest Gump, where like he's in like every big like moment in like history. I feel like I'm always in the background of something. I would say like the number one thing that this job has given me is like just experiences.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there was a guy that he used to play for the Yankees, and him and Charlie ended up kind of connecting through something. I can't remember what it was. But he played for the Yankees like in 2017 through like 2021, somewhere in those years. And Charlie told him like, "Oh, like we've got our merch guy's a huge Yankees fan, like diehard Yankees fan." And so I ended up getting his contact info, and he was like, "Hey man, like whenever you want to come to New York, like let me know. I'll hook you up with like some tickets and stuff." And I didn't, I really didn't think a whole lot of it, but I was kind of freaking out, I guess. And so my dad and my brother and I ended up kind of coordinated when we could all go up there. And we bought the tickets ourselves, but then he set us up with field passes. Like before the game, I got to go on the field at Yankee Stadium, and it was when Aaron Judge when he was going after that home run record. Mm-hmm. And so we went in September, and it just so happened that the Yankees were playing the Red Sox. Judge had 60 home runs at the time, so he was looking to tie the American League record. And we were there the same night it was all happening. And keep in mind, my dad has been a lifelong fan, and he had never even been to New York until he was in his 40s. And so being able to like take him and doing that with my brother, like that was like something I'll never forget. And like I wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. Yeah. So like this job has been able to give me so many experiences I would
And
never be able to
connections
do.
and
Yeah,
build a network and
like I just never would have, like in my wildest dreams, never would have guessed any of this would happen.
yeah,
So
that's awesome. Dude.
it's been nuts.
Yeah. So with that, what's like your advice to someone trying to get into the music business and just trying to build experiences outside? It could be anything, not just necessarily like being on the road or merch or whatever.
So I've kind of got three. So the first thing is, I think we've kind of already touched on this, is like not having any plan B whatsoever. Like you just have to jump in the fire and hope it works. The second thing is like you're going to have to, a lot of people, they don't realize this. They think it's just like a really fun job, which it is. There's a lot of perks to it. But you have to sacrifice so much. I mean, I've missed a lot of my good friends' weddings, and I've missed birthdays and all that kind of stuff. But it's because like the music does not stop. Like music doesn't close for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Like music is 24/7, 365 days a year. And like honestly, like the job reflects that. Like there's just always something to be done, music related. And the third thing is like people say that, some of this is luck, and it is. Like there's a lot of luck that goes into this. But I saw this quote one time, and I've really like taken it to heart. It says, "Luck favors those who are prepared." And so just being prepared and like taking the initiative to go out and meet people like that like you can call it luck or whatever. And like I said, there is some that goes into it, but like putting a name with a face and going out and putting your name out there, like that goes further than anything else I can
Definitely.
Yeah. So those are the three things I would probably say has helped me the most anyways.
And going all the way back to when we talked about how you went to Belmont for a year, before we wrap up, did you think that Belmont prepared you at all? Did you think it was worth it for you? Because I know like that's always a topic, because I've had people on here that studied music business at MTSU, Belmont, and then I've had people that have dropped out of college or just didn't go to college at all.
I mean, I'll tell you this, like I think there's a place for Belmont. I think with the proximity it is to Music Row, I think it helps people that want a job down on Music Row. There's a lot of like, music business, like law classes I took and that sort of thing that probably would help somebody, but it didn't help me.
Yeah.
I felt like I got more out of experience and networking and just meeting people.
Yeah.
And Belmont, to me, and like this sounds wrong, and it's not meant to be that way, but Belmont to me was like, oh, like my mom and dad paid for school for me to go like do this. And like there was a lot of kids I felt like that were out there that they just expected them to get a job like right out of college just because they had a degree from Belmont. And like that is not how this business works.
Yeah. No, it's not at all.
And that's honestly like why I dropped. Like that's one of the reasons, like the main reasons why I dropped out. I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a beautiful campus. Like my wife ended up graduating from there. Like she got her doctorate from there. So there is like certainly a place for it, and I think it's a great school. It just wasn't for me.
Because that's funny that you have that perspective. Because I didn't go there, but I graduated from Florida Gulf Coast with a bachelor's in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
But like looking back, I'm like, damn, I wish I went to Belmont and studied music business. Because now, like, I bought Donald Passman. Did you ever use those books? It's a like music business Bible essentially, and it has like everything you need to know about the music business. But Belmont supposedly uses those books, each edition, as like a textbook.
I'll tell you this: I didn't read a whole lot of textbooks when I was in college, so that's probably why I don't know what you're talking about. But
because I bought those books on Amazon, and I was like, I'm just gonna teach myself this stuff. Because like early on, before I had like a label job and all this stuff, it was like I had to learn everything like on my own. And I got like about 2 years of doing that, and I was like, I wish I went to Belmont, even though I had my bachelor's. I was like, I wish I went to Belmont so that somebody sat me down and taught me this instead of me having to do it myself. But then again, experience taught me a lot. But it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes.
Well, when you start looking at like the dollar figure of like what you're getting out of your education, like to me, it just didn't add up. Like, I could go learn, whatever I needed to on YouTube, or I could read a textbook on my own, buy the textbook and read it myself.
Yeah.
But people learn in different ways, and that's just how I learned.
Yeah. But no money and no professor is going to be able to give you experience.
No.
I guess money could, but.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, just like you not knowing anything about merch, bro giving you the opportunity and you going out there and be like, yep, I'm taking this opportunity and this experience, running with it, and I'm going to learn. And then you become the Michael Jordan of merch.
That's right. I would like to call myself that, but I don't know if I'm there yet. There's a couple guys in the business that I don't know how they do it, but they're pretty badass guys. So they do a pretty good job. But.
Well, I called you the Jordan of it, not the LeBron.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on that.
Who's better?
Well, I think personally, like, I would be curious to see like how LeBron would do in the '90s, like when Jordan played. But I'm gonna have to go with Jordan because, like, I watched. There was actually a game last night. United States and Canada played each other in like some showcase or something, and no one plays defense. And so, like, I would just like to see, like, LeBron try to go up for a layup or a dunk and just get clotheslined by Dennis Rodman or something. Like, it's like I'm going to go with Jordan, but I guess they're both pretty good players.
They are good players. I think, I mean, I'll stop it there, whatever. LeBron is just, like, bulldozer. I mean, he's huge.
One thing I'll give LeBron is, like, he's been doing it for so long. Like, he's in his 40s now. And, like, he's still doing it. Like, that's pretty unbelievable.
But that's like he's like built like a football player. Like, he's extremely athletic. I feel like Jordan is athletic, but more like a system player.
I'll tell you this. Michael Jordan, like, I don't think LeBron could quit in his prime and go play baseball like Jordan did. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, dude, thanks for coming on at 7:30 in the morning. My first morning podcast.
Let's go, getting your day started early.
Yeah.
Like it.
I live in the Gulch, so it was like a 5:30 wake up for me this morning.
Honestly, if we wouldn't have done it this morning, like, I'm one of those guys that, like, I totally forget about things until, like, the day of, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's good we just got it out of the way. So
Well, I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for listening to my first episode back in a long time. This is Behind the Music Biz, a Raised Rowdy podcast, and we'll be back for episode 24. We're going to start releasing every other Tuesday instead of every Tuesday, just due to scheduling with the studio and with my job schedule. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see y'all for episode 24.